Hi, my name is Yolanda, and I'm going to explain the activities I usually use in my classroom in the subject Gestión Logística y Comercial. I teach this subject in secondary education, what we consider here ciclos formativos, en grado superior of Administración y Finanzas. And what I would like to say about this type of education is that when you are teaching in this type of groups, the types of students that you get is very different, because on the one hand you can find the students that have finished fourth of ESO and second of bachiller, and on the other hand you can also find the students that are at the moment are unemployed or are finding it difficult to find a job, and they have found these studies as an exit to get a better job. It's a better prospect for them, and most of them have never studied English, so for them it's quite difficult. I've been teaching the subject in both English and Spanish for 2 years now, and I have faced a few difficulties which I've tried to sort out the best I have been able to. So I have designed 2 activities to help them learn vocabulary. I know by my experience that memorizing vocabulary is not worth it, because it takes a lot of time to memorize it and very little to forget it if you don't know how to use it in the real context. So I usually use these 2 activities that are originally not mine. Years ago I was studying English in Scotland, and my English teacher used this to teach us English. It's a way to reinforce our vocabulary, and I have adapted them to the level I have in class. This activity asks us to select 20 words. In my PDF file, there are 20 words that I have selected from the textbook I usually use in class, but I never use that many words because my students just get frustrated. So I never use more than 10 on each unit. Sometimes some of the words, like for example logistics and supplier, storage, picking, warehouse, they are repeated in different units. But I like to reinforce them, therefore at the end of the year they are able to remember them better. So the first activity I'm going to explain, it is called Relay for Words. So basically what I do is I hand the student with paper like this. I organize the classroom in groups of 4 or 5 students, depending on the attendance I have that day. And what I do is, on one square, I write one of the words that we are going to study in this unit. And then, working together, they have to find a synonym, then an antonym. Not always is easy to find it, but they put a big effort on doing it. Then I like them to look for related words they can think that are related to the main term. Then I usually ask them for the definition. Sometimes I let them the book, so through the book and reading a few sentences, they can guess the meaning. And even though if the sentence is not grammatically correct, for me the best thing, the most important point in this activity is that they can understand by guessing the meaning of the word. Therefore, it will be in their brain longer. And the last one is a sentence. Put the word in context, so they are able to understand the real meaning in context, which I think at the end of the day is the most important thing. So once this is completed, it will look like this. You say, for example, delivery. A synonym could be shipment. The antonym could be hold. Here you have a few definitions. Related words, the definition here, and the word written in context. So what they get is 10 of these squares, maximum, never more than 10, and then they had to hand back this. What they usually do is keep them as a glossary. So each group has, for this specific activity, their glossary, and what they do is that after that they can copy it from each other and have a full glossary of all the words that we are working on. The second activity that I use is also with cards, and it is also in groups. So what I do with them is that I hand them small cards with a word. I usually use both activities during the same unit. Sometimes I use one, sometimes another one, and some other times I use both, depending on how do they feel like or what their needs are. So they get all the 10, 8 words, whatever. They get the word in a card, they get a definition, and they also get a gapped sentence. There is a sentence with a gap. So what they have to do is find the right definition for each word, because I hand them 30 cards jumbled, so they have to match the word with its definition and then fit the right word into the right sentence. This activity is very interactive, and what I really like about it is that they helped each other, and at the end of the day the results are very good. For me, the main purpose of the activity is to help them retain vocabulary. And before I start every unit, I selected the terms I consider they are the key ones, the most important ones. And before we start, we play these games. So when we start reading the text, they are able to understand the meaning and the contents. They're usually the same contents in Spanish than in English. However, I believe it is very important that they understand the text they are reading, because if not, if they get lost in the first sentence, their motivation is going to decrease, and they are going to disconnect from the classroom. Sometimes you find that I have found that students don't want to play because they think they are adults, and they see gaming as something for children. So when the first time I started describing the activities, they were not very happy with them. But once they started playing and they saw it as an activity that they could do together as a team, and there was like someone didn't know something but the other person knew, so they were learning from each other. They realized that they were learning a lot more than just writing a list of words, memorizing them, and then like a parrot repeat them in an exam. For me, the most important thing in this activity is retaining the vocabulary and being able to understand the text. So if I want to assess vocabulary acquisition in my students, I usually give them a small text, and in that text, most of the words that have been we have been working through during the unit appear in the text. So what I like them is, sometimes I ask them for 3-4 words, underline words, and ask for definitions. Other times I ask them to take them out of the text and write sentences related to the meaning of the text. Some other times I ask them to group them into groups that make sense, that like family words, related terms. And I have to say that last year was the first year I started doing this, and it worked very well, especially with those students who find English really difficult. I not just focus on vocabulary, I always have to help them with grammar, considering that they don't know English. They started with very, very small knowledge of the language. But I have to say that little by little, working in these structures and these games, which, for example, if you have to find a word, you need to know if it is an adjective, or if it is a noun, or if it is a verb. where collocations are important, or in this other one, the vocabulary range spreads out because look, you have families, antonyms, synonyms, and last year I had a boy in class who was severely blind, and for me, I did the same activity, but he had it in his laptop, and just by making it bigger and just seeing the definitions and the words in different colors, I used different colors for him, and then I translated to the rest of the class, and although he wasn't able to write properly, but he was able to recognize words and then guess meanings and learn the vocabulary. So I was very happy that a person like him with a quite big difficulty was able to do it. So I hope you find my activities interesting, and see you soon. Thank you very much.